Do you possess the special skill that so many people building a small business possess? The amazing skill of faffing. Now, I know from all my conversations with people building businesses over the last 10 plus years that somehow faffing can actually become quite an art form when you're building your business. You know, when you have those days or weeks where you've got this massive list of things to do, you barely stop for a cup of tea or for a bite of lunch all day, and yet you get to the end of the day and somehow there's nothing meaty come off that list. Somehow all the big stuff is still there, and you just wonder how you're ever going to get this stuff done. Feel like you're focused, but the results tell you that that's not really happening. Well, I'm going to share with you today 3 really solid tips on how you can actually reduce, I'm not saying eliminate, but how you can reduce your faffing quite significant every single week. Now, I am not going to talk to you about classic time management tips because, to be honest, we've heard all those things a million times and they don't actually work. And the reason they don't work is my tip number 1, because the crucial thing for all of us is to actually understand our own best working habits, our own best working patterns and working routines. So yes, there are the classic things. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? But it's more detail than that. It's also getting to understand when is the peak time of day for you to deal with focused, detailed work. When are you really on it? And when are the times of day for you where perhaps your energy is just not there? And if you actually try and work on really concentrated things, you get distracted, you don't get anything done, your mojo just isn't quite there. Because when you're trying to fight against your natural working pattern, that's when you're going to find that the day feels like a struggle. You don't feel like you're getting anywhere because it simply doesn't flow. So as a couple of examples, I know for me that if I actually have too much free time in my diary, if I've got a day where perhaps I've got 2 calls, 1-hour calls, but the rest of the day is clear, that is really likely to end up as a bit of a faff day for me. Too much time actually means I am much less likely to get things done. Whereas having more things in my diary so that there is more structure to the day, more deadlines, more definition, is likely to make me much more productive. So that's a key thing for me. I also know that if I don't have anything in my diary until, say, mid-morning, then I'm quite likely to drift into my day. And once you drift into the day, being able to actually then really, lift things and actually work at a better pace and get focused is much harder. So I need to put things into my diary relatively early in the day so that I'm switched on quite early and then I stay that way through the day. So have a think about those kind of things for you. Do you want to allow really nice, big, meaty chunks of time to get something finished? Or actually does that just lead to drift? Do you want to do detailed things early or late? Do you need to have regular breaks? So think about all those things that are the best working style for you, because the real truth of the matter is there is no such thing as a perfect working day. There is definitely no one size fits all answer when it comes to how to structure your day or structure your week. The only real answer is understanding your own strengths and finding the best way to play to those. So that's the first tip. Really get to understand your own best working habits. The second tip is to create a simple daily routine of plan and review. So my suggestion on this would always be to work with daily to-do lists. And there's a few different reasons for this. And I would always recommend that you make your to-do list for tomorrow the last thing you do for today. And the reason that I say this is threefold. Firstly, because that then actually says to you, my working day is finished, and it increases the chances of you actually switching off at the end of the day. And that can be really tough when you're running your own business. It can easily drift through the evening. So make that to-do list the last thing you do, and you give yourself permission to switch off and recharge. The second reason is that you then give that list to your subconscious, and your subconscious is basically super powerful, but it's also unbelievably efficient. So you know the old adage about when you sleep on things, it all becomes clearer in the morning? That's because your subconscious beautifully slots it into place for you. So gift that list to your subconscious and everything will seem easier the following day. The third reason is that the first 20 minutes of your day will set the tone for the rest of the day. So if your first 20 minutes is a bit of a panicked, what on earth am I doing today? Where am I going? Who do I need to talk to? What emails have I got to send? What have I got to reply to? What am I supposed to be delivering? If that's the first 20 minutes, then the rest of the day is probably going to be jumping around all over the place. Whereas if that list tells you, you know exactly what item number 1 is today, and you can just crack on with it, then you're in a really productive process right at the start of your day, and you're much more likely to stay in that vein through the day. So that's the kind of planning bit, daily to-do lists. And one of the other big advantages of daily to-do lists is that over time, you will not get this right at first, I promise you. But the aim of a daily to-do list is to help you understand exactly how much you can actually get done in a day. Because most people put about 3 days worth of work onto a daily to-do list, and then they think that actually they're not very good at time management and that they're faffers because they've simply set themselves a challenge which is far too big. It's just not possible. So over time, and it would probably take 3 to 6 months of doing daily to-do lists consistently, but eventually you will get a real grip of how much you're actually capable of doing in a day, and then you can manage that much better. And the final element to the plan and review process is, of course, the review. So I would always recommend that whilst you're doing that to-do list for tomorrow, you ask yourself 3 key questions. Ask yourself, what was the best thing about today? Because that's the question we usually skim straight past while we're focusing on the 18 billion things that we didn't get done. But when we do that, we miss the fact that we've achieved good things and we deserve to give ourselves a little pat on the back, which is great. But we also miss the opportunity to potentially repeat the good stuff. So we need to spot the good stuff and make sure we keep doing it. So that's question 1. What was the best thing about today? Question 2, what would I do differently? So you're not looking to criticise or beat yourself up, because we're all naturally amazing at that anyway. But what you're looking to say is, what can I learn? What can I change? How would I make today better? So you're in that groove then of just constantly looking for small ways to continually improve what you do, which will really help you make progress. And the third of your daily review questions is, what's my key focus for tomorrow? Not what are the 18 billion things I need to do tomorrow. What's the one key thing I absolutely need to get done? And that will help you focus. And focus is the enemy of faff. So that is tip number 2, really get into a simple daily routine of plan and review. And my final tip is a really, really straightforward one. It's to look at all the meetings that you have in your diary and see how many of those you could change to a video conference. Up until about 3 years ago, I used to see pretty much all my clients face to face, and I really resisted the whole thought of doing this via video rather than face to face. Because hey, you know, us Brits, we're face to face kind of people. I'm a face to face kind of people. I'm a face to face person, you know, I'm a people person. And these are all really good reasons to meet people face to face. But more often than not, you are spending at least 50% more time to drive to that meeting. How often have you had a 1 hour meeting where even if it takes you 15 minutes each way, that's 30 minutes. So that's half as much time again as the time of the meeting. And very often it's more than that. Now, what I would say is, like I say, I resisted switching to video rather than face-to-face, but it's actually been a revolution for my business. The amount of time that it's freed up is incredible. The amount of money it's saved me on fuel is phenomenal. The amount less mileage going on my car is quite amazing. But the biggest thing is it's given me back a huge amount of capacity. And the best thing about it is it does not in any way detract from the quality of that meeting. So just as much gets done, and actually you're far less likely to drift into small talk. So I would really encourage you to think about video rather than meeting. And if you want to use a platform like Zoom, that costs me, I've just renewed for the year, it's cost me $179, I think, for the whole year. So it's really not expensive. It's a great investment to get all that time back. So those are my 3 big tips to help you do more focusing and much less faffing. Understand your own best working habits and play to those. Create a simple daily routine of plan and review, and switch your meetings to video calls. So hopefully that is helpful. If you have any questions or comments, then please leave those down below, and I would love to hear your feedback. If you need any more help, let me know and I will happily get in touch.